Okay, it's 2026 and it's the start of Marvel Studios' first project of the year. Is an 8-episode drop of Wonder Man. Now, as to why Marvel's dropping this series all at once on Disney Plus, that is yet to be determined. But what of the series itself? You will be pleasantly surprised. Surprised. Anyway, quick this and that. I got some new videos on the way for February, so you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, hype, whatever. Let's get started. Let's take us back to the beginning, shall we? See, back in 1999, there was this new cartoon that was going to be debuting called Avengers. And I was thinking, like, what? The Avengers? Based on that 1998 movie? Now, apparently, there was a show called Avengers United We Stand? Apparently, there was a show, and that show introduced me to more of a bevy of various iconic Marvel heroes that I got to know and love down the line. But from the intro, I was oddly introduced to this one hero called Wonder Man. And I thought, gosh, that sounded so weak. I mean, who's gonna know of this guy? I could get behind someone like Wonder Woman, but Wonder Man and that guy, man, time sure has made a fool out of me. Since then, as I gradually got into comics a bit more and more down the line. Anyway, you know the deal. Fast forward, yada, 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 as they made the announcement of the Wonder Man TV show, not even though Marvel was heading towards dire straits and some questionable decision-making. But I didn't really find myself disliking too much of what's going on. Anyway, as they'll get out of their slump and eventually do what's right. Anyway, moving on. From what we're going on with the series, I think it would be fair it may have made some eyes a bit apprehensive as to why they're going with this angle and not going for like a straightly superhero show as they've done previously. The more I see it happens, the more I see it actually makes more sense to how they should go about doing it in a sort of meta commentary on the studio system in Hollywood at the like, as well as acting. And you know, various hard stuff as someone who decided to enter background acting since the middle of last summer and up until now. And is waiting to make stuff for myself and make some acting regulated stuff for my own personal projects on my side channel. As you can see, the process of how certain actors go through as we're introduced to Simon Williams. Now, Simon in the MCU is a lot different from Simon from the source material, as a little different from as he was a rival industrialist compared to Tony Stark, and was then experimented on by evil forces, and then turned against said evil forces and became a good guy, and then subsequent ones from his appearance in the 80s up until the 90s as he became an actor, which was pretty much his overall unique direction to take the character, is the implications of the source materials added onto the series. Wouldn't you see how many liberties are taken to make this character a bit more impactful of the like? With the movie and the TV show format, as they do a lot of good implications of how the business is sometimes to actors, as well as how creatives will go and how exploitative it can also be to one with a sort of nurturing talent. Either good or either bad, but you take the risk anyway and see where it goes. Anyway, a good performance by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is really good, as he came a long way from playing a DC villain in 2 movies. As Simon Williams himself, you do follow his journey on where he wants to end up as, from his frustrations with trying to hinder the direction of the project he's starring in, because it's not to a certain standard. A bit too much for the perfectionist stuff, like trying to keep and struggling to keep his hidden powers a secret. But unfortunately, it's a little too much as it's tied to his emotional spectrum. But that gets him under the radar of damage control, which leads to another gem of the series, Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery. Now, from that fumble in Iron Man 3, which I like, know it at me, and slightly redeeming his character in Shang-Chi, also by Destin Daniel Cretton, you get to see much more of a deeper layer in Kingsley's character in a series in which it really works because, number one, he works as a really good side foil for Simon, because with Simon as a character, you do get a little bothered by whatever he's going through and how he's taking things to the like. As a character by himself, he doesn't really have that much to offer, but with Slattery, he brings out the best in his direction. I mean, not to say that he isn't good on his own, but I think much more development can be a good character on his own, but with Slattery, he's good where he's at. With his character shining through that, another key detail I really like was implementing a Haitian heritage onto his backstory and family. Now, as someone who was born to Haitian immigrants and living in the coastal area of the US, and being the younger sibling who often feels like an outsider at times, mostly due to lack of language, lack of speaking Haitian Creole at times, but understanding the language really spoke to really accentuate really deeply into me. Like, this dude is basically me IRL. Added because I'm also entering acting as well as voice acting of the like, but you know, it's fate. But I digress anyway. Seeing what happened in episode 3 brought a lot of familiarity to myself because I used to listen to my mother play the same music all the time. But you know, I'm not bothered by it. As you can see, opportunity knocks very strange for him as he's giving the chance to impress the director of his capabilities. And even though it's kind of telegraphed that he will eventually make it, since it was in the promos of the journey was filled with everything you need to know. I mean, as a good product of itself, it's a pretty good watch in something of the MCU. Maybe somewhat less so, but doesn't need to link to the overall wider set of the MCU or anything later on, since something like this was shot 2 years ago. And now it just released. And since a more balanced timescale of what's going on this year from Marvel, I mean, there's something to be excited about, and you know, maybe some are, but it is fair to be cautiously optimistic about it. Not being cynical for anyone, you gotta check out episode 4, because episode 4 is probably one of the most trippiest and most self-aware projects of Marvel you have ever seen. I mean, I don't want to spoil you, but you can go on to check it out for yourself. Anyway, there's so much to be enthralled with the series like this. There's some really good camera work and some good cinematography. Not that much in special effects. I mean, there's no big set of special effects, and it's been praised by going on with being a character work instead of trying to focus on spectacle. Now, I might be paraphrasing a lot from what other tubers are saying, but you do see the final product as it's meant to be a case of character study. And a story like this doesn't really need to be part of a bigger story or anything. Just small, semi-self-contained story that's focusing on featuring a character and not trying to tease the character for something. I mean, in the end, they're probably going to be teasing something, but they already probably might be teasing something with damage control since the 4th MCU Spider-Man movie by the same director. We'll hopefully explore the implications of that this summer as well. Anyway, Simon's journey has highs and lows, but you do get to see him well on his way to accomplishing his dream and trying to find out what he is and his place upon the world. And it actually feels pretty refreshing. It doesn't need to treat the story as a standard superhero story on TV. Just because it uses this as a theme to focus on, to explore various genres, that is something that was good with a certain level of Marvel projects in the past. I wonder, could it be a pretty semi-direction to where this goes, since number one, various productions on the Marvel television banner have explored these themes of the like, such as WandaVision or Agatha All Along, or something that doesn't feature like superheroes or supervillains along, probably. As good as Daredevil Season 1. But there's probably going to be a lot more critically maligned takes on how this series probably isn't going to be up to snuff, and people are welcome to believe whatever they want. But for me, I pretty much enjoyed what I saw. I mean, it's not perfect 100% out of the way. I could recommend it to a lot. Doesn't need to tie into bigger stories, but there's a good focus on character study and plot. And maybe with the damage control stuff was a bit too lackluster. Because number one, I freaking hate these guys. I want to see these guys get a big comeuppance for what they've done throughout the series in the later part of the MCU saga. Maybe they'll lead up to what's going on with the X-Men and the Mutant Saga for the next phase of the MCU. We'll see what we get, and we'll see when we get there the like. Anyway, for Wonder Man, it's wonderful. It's almost how when we'll see these characters and what's going on in the world of the Wonder Man show ever again down the line. But who knows? I do hope the reception the series got, we get to see certain Easter eggs highlighting the success of the Wonder Man movie in-universe that's present in the wider MCU. It was a good, decent time passer to watch in the background. Anyway, as you know, it's already February, and February is already starting. and I got some new stuff on the way. So you know the deal. Like, sub, share, comment, hype, and I'll see y'all next time.